BI award-winning Niall Boylan Show. Real people, real opinions, real talk radio on Classic Hits 4FM.
Oh no, I need my music first. I was going to do my music first again. There you go. Young people of Ireland, I love you. Is that good? Young people of Ireland, I love you. That was, of course, what Pope John Paul said back in 1979. Little did we know the revelations that would come out from report after report after report, which he was involved in, by the way. We didn't think that at the time. We just thought, he's a lovely man, isn't he? Isn't he lovely? Look at his little head. He's a lovely little man. Well, Pope Francis has officially said he will be visiting Ireland. The senior Vatican official told journalists that Pope Francis will do everything he can to attend the World Meeting of Families, which will be happening here next year in August. So it's now official. So maybe later on, if we get time, I'll ask you, will you be welcoming him here? Somebody else, by the way, the first comment I saw in the Journal today was, is he bringing a checkbook with him to pay all the compensation the Catholic Church was supposed to pay to families and people who were abused? Well, we'll see. Welcome along to the show. We're till 3 o'clock. It's Niall Boylan here today. And don't forget, we got tickets to give away for you to party like 1999 with Purple Rain, a celebration of Prince. It's the first tour following the sold-out tours in the UK. The last sets of tickets were given away today. We've been giving them away all week. Wednesday, May the 17th in Vicar Street. Thursday, May the 18th in Cork Opera House. And Saturday, May the 20th in the Black Box in Galway. And we got a pair of tickets for each gig to give away. And all you got to do is get involved in the show. Simple as that. Just comment or text or whatever it happens to be, and we'll pick 3 winners out again today, all right? By the way, just to mention the people of Galway, it seems the city councillors in Galway believe that it's acceptable behaviour to drink outside because they're now designating an area. They're considering the Spanish Arch as a designated drinking location with safety barriers and warning signs after the Gardaí admitted they do not have the resources to police the area when large crowds congregate during the fine weather. So in other words, the guards have said, we can't do our job, we're incapable of doing it, the law says you can't do it, but we're not going to stop it anymore. So listen, you might as well just put an L barrier around it. I don't know, a lot of people don't agree with that. People breaking the law, by the way, are subject to on-the-spot fines of €100 rising to €1,500 in court if unpaid for drinking outside. But now we're kind of saying it's okay because we can't control it. I don't know, if you're from Galway and you hang around the Spanish Arch, maybe you can tell me if it's okay. I don't know. I know they do it in Temple Bar here. And the guards can't control that either. They've tried on numerous occasions. But first, the one thing that has affected everybody today, the bus Eireann dispute took a bit of a nasty turn today, with workers from Irish Rail, Dublin Bus and some private bus companies as well refusing to pass the picket. And it resulted in thousands of people being disrupted on what they thought would be a normal Friday morning commute to work. Now, some rail and Dublin bus services are beginning to resume, but knock-on effects and backlogs and traffic are still causing serious issues around cities around the country, particularly in Dublin. And public transport services were severely disrupted from early this morning as bus Eireann dispute entered its 8th day with surprise pickets on all the other transport depots. Now, the MBRU has advised its members that the unofficial action was not sanctioned by the union and that all workers in Eireann, Dublin Bus, who are members of the MBRU, should return to work as normal today. And Eireann said services on its intercity and commuter routes are resuming, but warned that there will be delays and knock-on cancellations from this morning's shutdown. The DART services have resumed after hours of cancellations and delays over the peak morning period. Of course, Friday morning is the busiest part of the day, of course, or the busy part of the week. Secondary bus Eireann pickets are started appearing this morning. The first one was at Connolly Station at 4 o'clock this morning, and pickets have also been lifted at Dublin bus depots, which allowed for services to return to normal by mid-morning, by about 12 o'clock or so, although there is still people hanging around because there's so many people who are waiting for buses that there just isn't enough room on all the scheduled services for the rest of the day. Now, the MBRU General Secretary Dermot O'Leary earlier called for the secondary pickets to be removed and said that he had no prior warning of these pickets and does not condone unofficial picketing. 2,600 bus Eireann staff have been on strike, as you know, since last Friday in a dispute over cuts to pay and conditions. Well, when they say cuts to pay, it's cuts to overtime, which could reduce their pay. But that's the way the company has to run if it's to stay alive, according to management. The management insists there are essential cutbacks to avert the prospect of insolvency at the loss-making company. In other words, if we don't do this, they're all going to lose their jobs anyway. So Mr. O'Leary said he had warned for some time about the potential of a strike to spread to other parts of the CIE group, but hoped that people would get back to work in the next few hours. Now, the Minister for Transport, Shane Ross, who seems to be the enemy, he's like the Arthur Scargill at the moment, isn't he? Said he regrets the impact of this new, unofficial and unjustified protest on passengers. And in a statement, he said he is actively monitoring developments. Transport Minister Shane Ross said he will not intervene in an industrial relations dispute, but appeals to both sides to begin the talks immediately. He urged both parties to get back to the Labour Court and sort out the differences, but said it would be illegal for him to give state aid to Expressway and utterly inappropriate for him to use taxpayers' money to basically bail out this situation and sort out the dispute. Now, SIP2 said it would not organise and does not condone the unofficial strikes. All DART services had been cancelled but resumed shortly after 10 o'clock with knock-on delays. And a number of rail services remain cancelled as passengers are still advised to check with Eireann before you actually travel today. And Barry Kelly, who's the spokesperson from Eireann, said that pickets were designed to have the maximum effect and came without any warning today. He said, I want to get your reaction, should I say, to this fiasco. Do you condone what they did by refusing to pass the pickets? Would you pass a picket? Or do you think it was a shambles that reminds you of toddlers basically throwing their toys out of the cot? I mean, were you affected by the fiasco this morning? Were you standing at a bus stop waiting to get to work? Are you an employer to have your staff not turn up for work? I want to hear from you today. Here's the question. And I want everybody to get involved, because remember, you're in the draw for those tickets if you get involved anyway. So I want you to text 53544. Do you condone or do you condemn this strike by all our transport systems this morning and people refusing to pass the picket? Do you condemn this? So just put it one way for you, right? Do you condemn it? Yes, you condemn it, or no, fair play to the workers. Text 53544, that's 53544. Do you condemn the actions of CIE and other transport services this morning in coming out and, they say, solidarity with their fellow workers? Text 53544. Yes, you condemn it, or no, you don't. Let me know what you think. Let's take a little vote on it. Mike, before I go to Mike, sorry, I have to go to somebody else first. I have to go to Jim. Jim, how are you doing? You're on Classic Hits.
How are you, Niall? How's things?
Jim, you went on strike this morning. Yeah, you're back in work. You're a Dublin bus driver. Why did you feel? How did this strike actually happen in the first place? How was it organised?
We'd no warning or notice about it. Noel. It was a surprise to us as well as everybody else.
Right. So when you arrived, what time did you go to work this morning?
About 6 o'clock-ish.
Right. You arrived at the depot, and there was obviously a picket across the front of the depot, and you decided, I'm not passing the picket.
Exactly. Yeah.
And did you not, I mean, have you looked at both sides of this dispute at the moment, which is ongoing for the last week, and do you have an opinion of it yourself?
I've looked at all sides of it, and yeah, I do have an opinion. I think we have a Minister for Transport who doesn't want to be a Minister for Transport, because he doesn't want to get involved in anything.
But it's not that he doesn't want to get involved. What he's saying is we just can't keep pumping taxpayers' money into it.
Yeah, look, he didn't want to get involved in the Lewis, he didn't want to get involved in Aries, he doesn't want to get involved in this. I mean, if he doesn't want the job, give it to somebody else.
But if you're a minister, when you say he doesn't want to get involved, he's got involved to the point of saying there's nothing more we can do. We're already, last year 6 million, this year 10, or should I say last year 10 million, the year before 6 million. He's saying we're already putting enough money into this. The company is not running properly. Things need to change. Unfortunately, people need to be let go, and we need to make redundancies. We need to cut overtime. We need to make all these amendments to the company to make it work. Otherwise, everyone's going to lose their job.
Yeah, but we're going to do it, and we're going to cut overtime to the drivers. We're going to cut overtime or all these changes to the drivers and everything else, and the maintenance staff and the clerical staff. If it's not running well and hasn't been running for years, that's bad management. Many of them are going to take a cut. Many of them are going to...
I'm not suggesting for a minute... Well, Jim, I'm not suggesting for the minute the management are doing a great job. They're clearly not doing a great job, right?
No,
but in saying that, you also have to consider that we're now in a situation where we've an open market, where you have a lot more private operators. There isn't the amount of business there was for Bus Éireann before. Other people are using private services now. So there just isn't the work there anymore. So they have to scale down, like Aer Lingus did.
There is a lot more competition on the roads, but there's a lot of places where the private operator won't go into. Won't pick up, and that's the problem here. That's the crux of the issue.
I mean, this is very similar to what happened to Aer Lingus 20 years ago. I mean, you had a situation where you had 6,000 people working in an airline with overpriced tickets. Ryanair came along and said, we'll show you how to do this. They cut the prices. Aer Lingus had to cut their prices. They couldn't afford the staff they had. And all of a sudden, we've seen the staff levels go from 6,000 down to 2,000 or whatever it was, or whatever it is now. So, I mean, you have to understand, they cannot keep this going the way it's going. It's just a fact of life now.
Oh, obviously, look, it will have to be sorted out, and everyone will have to sit down. But I think all parties will have to sit down And I mean, that's going from the minister down to the social protection everywhere, because it's all a factor in this. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, leaving aside Bus Éireann and your opinions on that, and we could argue with that all day, what happened this morning to the general public without warning was outrageous.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's down to each and every person. It's a moral compass whether they're going to pass a picket or not, and I just won't pass a picket. So that was
and when you're walking past that picket, I'm assuming you have to obviously think, and I don't know whether you're married and you have kids and everything else, you have to think of your own job as well and where you stand, because essentially what happened this morning was illegal. It's unofficial. And you were all told, listen, go back to work. And how did you feel when they said to you to get back to work?
Yeah, well, they said the pickets are lifted and we went back to work. That was well. We were late to get back out. That's why, look, I got up this morning, put on a uniform to go in and do a day's job. That's what I done. You know, as I said, it was as much a surprise to me as it was to everybody else.
I mean, see, a lot of people are using the analogy, for example, because you are a separate company, although you're all under the same umbrella of CIE, you are a separate company, and you have your own issues, which I'm sure we'll be hearing about in the future, right? But I mean, for example, if the spar shop down the road from me went on strike, I wouldn't come out in solidarity with them. You know, I'll wait till I have a problem here before I come out in solidarity with my workers. Do you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make a huge amount of sense.
Well, we're all transport workers at the end of the day, don't we?
Well, okay, well, let me give you another analogy. If Today FM went on strike, I'm not going to go on strike. I don't work for Today FM. Okay. Or All Radio. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand completely what you're saying, yeah.
So I'm not going to deprive the general public of radio just because another radio station has a grievance which is not affecting me.
Yeah, I understand that. If Today FM went on strike or Classic Hits went on strike, people could just turn the channel to a different station. It's the people down in the country and rural Ireland where will be left at the side of the road because there's no private operator going to go in and operate these routes.
And look at the bigger, but Jim, look at the bigger damage it's doing. Okay, we're already in a situation with Bus Éireann where they're losing millions, right? Mm-hmm. This strike over the course of the week has probably cost millions, and not only and not only that, a lot of the people who were used to using Bus Éireann have now moved to private operators because they had no choice over the last week, and the same goes for Dublin Bus and everyone else. I'm sure the Airport Express was jammed this morning, I imagine. But so they're all moving to different services. They might like the services, and they might lose them altogether.
That's at least they have an option of somebody else to go to. There's people that don't have an option of anybody else to go to. That's what I'm trying to say to you and get across to you. There's places where no private operator will go in and work because it's not profitable for them.
Well, just stay there for a second. Well, stay there a second, Jim. Okay, Jim is a bus worker, Dublin bus worker, and he didn't pass the picket this morning. Mike, you're on Classic Hits. How you doing, Mike?
Hi, Niall.
Good, Mike. What do you want to say?
I'm telling you, Niall, I am sick to my back teeth of this country. You know that?
Of the country?
Yeah.
As a whole? Yeah, okay.
The infrastructure in this country is a joke.
Okay, do you support...
I have actually lost my job, Niall.
How come?
I've lost my job.
How did you lose your job?
From this carry-on from CIE and Bus Éireann and all that crack. I had 5 shifts during this strike, right?
Yeah.
Sorry now about the language.
I'd rather you didn't use it. Yeah, go on.
I had 5 shifts during this strike. And my boss, well, my manager gave me warnings. I missed a lot of my shifts. Because don't pick your act up together. You're sacked. Couldn't get to work. I've no dependents or anything like that. I'm a half an hour from my job. I got the bullet now.
So you got fired?
I've no job now. I'm unemployed. I was in the door office yesterday.
And there was and that was the only reason he fired you, because you couldn't get to work during the bus strike?
He gave me two chances. And I couldn't. I was ringing everyone. I was ringing my friends, my family, and they all have jobs. They all have family and stuff, to pick up in school.
Yeah.
I can't, I was relying on that.
And did your boss not have some consideration for the fact that it wasn't your fault?
No, I don't know. I pleaded my case with him and I fought to the bitter end. And no, that's just the way it worked out for me now.
I mean, but just let me go back to Jim. Jim, I know you're not personally responsible, and I'm not making you personally responsible, but this is the knock-on effect it can have.
Oh, I understand, and I'm very sorry to hear that chap lost the job over it, but, I mean, I'd be looking at his boss, that's very unreasonable, do you know what I mean?
I think his boss is being a bit unreasonable, to be honest with you.
Very unreasonable.
Yeah, I don't know if there's more to the story than meets the eye, to be honest with you, but yeah.
I don't know either. But
I understand, depending on where you live.
Anybody lose that job, do you know what I mean?
And absolutely, and what you said earlier on, it depends on where you live, whether there's another service available. He may live in an area where there's just no other services available.
Possibly, yeah.
What do you say to workers, and there was some workers this morning who passed the picket and went out, and according to Derek Byrne, I was looking at his Facebook page earlier on, he said that passengers were given out to them for passing the picket. I don't believe that. What do you say to those workers who did pass the picket, and some of them did?
Look, it was every individual's decision whether to pass the picket or not pass the picket.
And do you frown upon those who do? Do you frown upon those who do?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're all in this together. I mean, they be the same people that we have to work with side by side when this is all over, tomorrow, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Further down the road. So absolutely not. I don't hold any goods for anybody then.
I mean, sorry, Mike, you're back there. Mike, do you understand what the strike is about, Mike?
No.
No, you don't.
No.
But you personally don't care because you've lost your job.
Yeah.
Right, okay. And so you don't understand why these men are standing in solidarity with their other transport workers, no? You don't care?
I don't care either, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you just basically wanted to get to work.
Yeah.
All right, let me just go to Des. Des, you're on Classic Hits. How you doing, Des?
Hi, Niall. Good afternoon.
Good, thanks very much. A man of a million words before you there. Go on. Sorry, Des. You support the strike, and you happily would come out in solidarity if you were working in Dublin Bus.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. You see, this strike has gone on since last week, and no one gave a toss about the rural Ireland and what impact it was having until it hits Dublin. And once it hits Dublin, then everyone is roaring and shouting. So what it's done this morning is it's brought talks to Dublin because people are affected. Dublin is affected now. Let's all go bananas because...
Well, we were going bananas anyway. We were talking about it during the week either way.
Well, what do we expect for voting in a government like this? I mean, at the end
why
of the
are you
day,
blaming the government? Why are you not blaming Bus Eireann?
We've had more
Because
strikes
the government
over the
have won the
last 2
100
years.
through the
We've
years.
had more strikes over the last 2 years now, Niall, right? And it's a collision course, that government. That's what it's on. It's on a collision course.
But when you say we've had more strikes over the last 2 years, of course, the first one we all know about was the Lewis strike, okay? The Lewis strike, which was most people's opinion, even governments, even the Transdev, and even probably some of the workers we spoke to, was unreasonable, right?
It was unreasonable.
Absolutely. So that started the ball rolling, and everybody said once Transdev gave in to the workers, it was just going to be a knock-on effect for everybody. Now, we're in a situation here where it's not, you're talking about pay cuts. This is not a pay cut. People you keep using the word pay cut. This is an overtime cut. You can never, we've talked about this during the week, you can't consider overtime to be part of core pay. It's not. It never was.
Hold on. You can't say that now because hypothetically, if you were in a union in your job and all of a sudden the company was struggling and they came in and they picked the most vulnerable people first to hit, you'll see your boss coming in his brand new car and there's no cuts there. How can you expect the staff just to turn around to have mortgages and are relying on this overtime? And you can't also flood the market with all these private companies if it's not going to be sustained for the future. You have to work out a strategy plan for overall transport. You can't just the answer can't be just flooding the market with.
But as long as I remember, I'm not going to blame solely Fine Gael for this. Fianna Fáil, Labour, whoever happened to be government over the last 50 years of my life. We have always been held to ransom by either CIE in general. The general public have always been the ones that have had to take the brunt of this. There's been strike after strike. You can't go a few years without a strike in one of the transport companies. So there's always been strikes.
At the end of the day, this strike hasn't just come about over the last week or so. This is going on for months now.
It's going on for years. I mean, they've been losing money for years.
The Minister for Transport, the buck stops there. And another thing as well, you can't just elect a government and then all of a sudden the Taoiseach starts throwing ministers to different positions.